Game of Thrones vanished. Not slowly, not gradually. It didn't fade into obscurity. It didn't fall into the beloved but flawed category like Lost. It didn't become a guilty pleasure like Dexter. It just evaporated, with many fans considering the first 3 seasons to be its own property. The most watched, the most pirated, the most discussed television show in history. And now most of their merch is in the bargain bin. Why is that? The easy answer is that the ending was bad. The easy answer is that George R.R. Martin didn't finish the books and the showrunners had no idea what to do. But lots of shows have bad endings. Lots of shows fumble the ball. Most of them do not get erased. Now, something else happened there. Something else occurred that hasn't really happened much before. But here's the thing. Game of Thrones wasn't the first one. Let me ask you, what do 1993, 1999, and 2011 have in common? The answer is that all 3 of these years had extinction events for what the audience would accept from entertainment. Jurassic Park, The Matrix.
What are you trying to tell me? That I can dodge bullets?
No, Neo. I'm trying to tell you that when you're ready, you won't have to.
And Game of Thrones.
Winter is coming.
If you were there and watching these properties when they came out, you could feel it. You came out of those movies, you ended the watch parties, and you realized something just changed. Something in entertainment just created a situation that I can't go back from. This video is about what happens when the ground shifts. 1993. 2 movies. Same year, same scenes. Dinosaur eggs hatch. But one of them understood something that the other one didn't. Jurassic Park didn't just premiere new technology, it premiered a new philosophy. Stan Winston's animatronic, ILM's CGI, each one covering for the other's weaknesses. The T-Rex in the rain, practical. The Gallimimus stampede, digital. And oddly enough, the audience couldn't tell where one started and one ended. That isn't a technical achievement. That's a perceptual achievement. Spielberg understood something important. The goal isn't to showcase what computers can do. It is to make the audience forget that they're watching a computerized image. And after that summer, the question changed. The question wasn't, is this CGI good? Is this practical effect good? It was, do I believe that it's real? That question is the weapon. And the audiences were handed this weapon whether they wanted it or not. Every movie, every creature that featured after 1993 was measured up against this movie. Pre-Hysteria, the other dinosaur movie that you may not have heard of, it was obsolete the day it released. On our way to 1999, let's take a small pit stop in September of 1998. You see, on this day, Saban Entertainment released a new property called Mystic Knights of Tir na Nog. This company, that had previously grossed over $1 billion in their first year, decided to launch a medieval-themed tokusatsu series. And in the first episode, there is a battle with a skeleton knight that one of the magicians summons. This scene was meant to showcase just how advanced the technology they were using was, how superior it was to claymation of the 70s and 80s. And what's so special about it? Yeah, it looks bad here. 6 months later, only 6 months, The Matrix released in theaters. This show, released in 1998, didn't even make it to reruns before something that had looked spectacular 6 months ago suddenly looked archaic, suddenly looks like something you would run on an Atari. But the footage didn't really change. It didn't get any worse than the day it aired. What did change? The audience did. The Matrix changed what was acceptable to the eyes of the audience. This is what extinction looks like in almost real-time situations. One day, you're doing cutting-edge work. 6 months later, you're a dinosaur. 5 years after that, and a Disney production of Pirates of the Caribbean make both of them look archaic. So we have the pattern. Jurassic Park taught audiences that effects could be invisible. The Matrix taught audiences that action could be art. But both of these things stayed in their lanes. Movies, big budgets, event-driven experiences. Television was safe. Video games were safe. They had their own rules. And then came the dragons.
Dracarys.
Prestige television before Game of Thrones was built on a specific set of rules, a specific set of limitations. If you wanted critical acclaim, you had to work around the budget. The Sopranos is therapy sessions and family dinners. Mad Men is offices and living room. The Wire is street corners and newsrooms. Brilliant shows. Contained shows. Game of Thrones looked at everything that had come before it and just set it on fire. This wasn't a television budget. This wasn't a television script. This wasn't good enough for TV. This was pure cinema delivered weekly. It's just a TV show. Stop being an acceptable excuse. But while everyone focuses on the battles, while everyone focuses on the dragons and the scope of the world building, that's not what broke the audiences. This scene right here is what broke the audiences. Ned Stark dies in episode 9 of season 1. The protagonist, the moral center, the man the entire marketing campaign was built around. Dead. Now, narratively, this really isn't something new. Books have been killing protagonists for centuries. But television doesn't really do this. Television has rules. The hero survives, the story continues, the setting resets every episode. The plot armor exists because the show wants to keep a main character long term. Game of Thrones asked a very simple question. What do you do if the consequences are real? What are those consequences? Well, throughout seasons 1 through 3, and perhaps bleeding some into season 4 and 5, it didn't just tell stories. It trained the audience. If you go back and you watch Ned Stark's arc again, every decision he makes is visible. His honor, his trust, his refusal to play the game. And every decision he makes has a consequence that tracks. He trusts Littlefinger. Littlefinger betrays him. He warns Cersei. Cersei moves first. He chooses honor over survival. And he doesn't survive. When Robb Stark takes over, it's the same pattern. Every step he makes is a step toward the Red Wedding. Every decision he makes earns his finality. He breaks his oath. He loses the Karstarks. He needs to crawl back to Walder Frey. And audiences, even some casual audiences and book readers, they could feel it coming. They might not have known what it was. They may not have expected it to be so severe. But they knew the show was going to do something. I remember when the show was launching, everybody was saying, don't get too attached to a character you like. And when it landed, The Red Wedding didn't shock people because it was violent. It was shocked because the audiences understood it. They could look at every decision he made and track it from the very first link. That show handed viewers, handed YouTubers, handed critics the tools to perform literary analysis and said, please use these.
The prince will remember that, little lord.
Hope so.
So you would think everything would be peachy, right? But no. What came next was the show failing the test that they set up for themselves. Season 8, Daenerys Targaryen burns King's Landing. Now, the destination makes complete sense. The seeds were always there. A Targaryen succumbing to the family madness, being torn between peace and burn them all. The daughter of the Mad King becomes what she swore to destroy. That's tragedy. That's earned. Except it wasn't earned. Not in the show anyways. The journey was compressed, was skipped, was hand-waved. The math didn't work out. The ledger didn't balance. And here's the unprecedented response. The audience knew. They didn't just feel that something was wrong. They could articulate it. That felt unearned. Now that phrase, unearned, that is literary criticism vocabulary. That is workshop language. And suddenly, it's everywhere. It was on Reddit threads. It was on Twitter rants. It was on YouTube essays. It was on Facebook posts. This show trained millions of viewers to watch closely, to track patterns, to expect the math to work out. And when the show itself stopped doing the math, the audience checked the receipts. At this show's peak, it was inescapable. It didn't matter if you were watching from episode 1 and waiting between seasons. It didn't matter if you binged 5 seasons at once. This show was everywhere. Everyone at the office was talking about it, and it became the most pirated show in history. There were watch parties at bars. There were premiere episodes trending worldwide. It built a merchandising empire out of nowhere. It has a theme park attraction. The conversations, the theory channels, the investment that people made was unreal. Season 8 hits, and it's all gone. Not diminished, not faded, gone. The last 2 seasons of that show were so bad that it vanished until at least House of the Dragon came out. Let me ask you, when was the last time you saw someone wearing a Game of Thrones shirt from the original series? When was the last time anyone referenced it to you in normal conversation? That show was fumbled so bad that it poisoned the entire experience for everyone. And guess what? The Hollywood executive teams, they took notice. Now, they may have distanced themselves from the way the show ended, but every producer in Hollywood wants a property as big as Game of Thrones. So this is where we are right now. The Game of Thrones effect isn't about dragons or battles or production values. It's about what happened to the audience. Viewers, audiences, whatever fandom you have, they can't unlearn what you taught them. When The Rings of Power premiered on Amazon, the audiences just didn't dislike it. They diagnosed it for you. They gave you the pacing issues. They gave you the character motivation gaps. They gave you the world building inconsistency. The vocabulary was ready. The tools are sharpened. When The Witcher's showrunner admitted to not liking the source material, the audiences didn't really get angry. They cataloged every deviation. They built their case and they checked out. Hollywood's only response to this is to be able to say, oh, well, the audience is racist. Oh, the audience is sexist. If they don't like what we put out, then it means that they're not true fans. This is a coping mechanism. And I'm going to give you the real truth. It doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter how much effort you put into a show, how much money you put into a show. It doesn't matter how many great actors you get. If the product isn't good when it premieres on TV, you don't get credit for it. It just falls into the barking bin. It's forgotten in a week, like the new Starfleet Academy show.
So what are you thinking?
We're out of a job. Don't you mean extinct?
So in conclusion, my dear Hollywood executive, if you've made it this far, then this part of the message is for you. If you are going to spend $100 million, $300 million, $600 million on a movie, or if you're going to spend $3 to $6 million an episode on television, make sure that the people you have working for you want to be there. Make sure you find people that love and adore your product. Because here's the truth. Your fandom can be your greatest ally. They can come up with backstories for you. They can fix any contrivance that you've come up with. They'll give you the benefit of the doubt if they feel like they're being respected. In Star Wars, the pants that Han Solo wears have an entire backstory as to why they look the way they do. Things that were created just to explain something that was seen on screen for a few moments. If you had done well with Starfleet Academy, half the fandom would be going, oh, okay, well, at some point after DS9, the founders joined the Federation. Sometime after that, they created Jim Hadar that could breed. The fandom would look at people like the Betazoids and go, oh, hey, 200 years of isolation, the psionic shield that they put up, it affected their eye coloring. They are willing to help you. They are willing to meet you halfway, but you have to put in the effort. And rather than kicking people out of the industry, rather than calling them racist or sexist or whatever you've got in mind, treat them like your asset. You know, the modding community has been used by multiple gaming companies to fix problems with their first game. What was it? Half-Life 2? Half the game fixes were independent mods that made it into the next game. You want this. This is one of your sharpest tools to increase your product going forward. And fans, please keep doing what you do. Every time they say that a world is suffering from a capitalistic problem in Star Trek, point it out. Every time Star Wars abandons a good plot thread, point it out. Every time a beloved historic character is race swapped or gender swapped, point it out. Make sure that the people who are spending these hundreds of millions of dollars understand that if they want to be successful, if they want to pat themselves on the back and say, look at me, look how stunning and brave I am, look at how I created the first female character, the first female action star, the first female mystery star, whatever, make them earn that. Anyways, that's all for me. If you've got any videos or TV series or movies that you were like, yeah, you know what? The movie, it was pretty good, but it had this one thing that just didn't land and you want me to look at it, let me know. Drop it in the comments. Thank you.
The Matrix is a system, Neo. That system is our enemy. When you're inside, you look around, what do you see? The very minds of the people we are trying to save. But until we do, these people are still a part of that system, and that makes them our enemy.